Did I always know what I was doing? No. Did I always have an idea of who is my niche, who is my target market? No. But I will share that the more conversations you have with people, the more you understand who you want to help, why you want to help them, and how what your efforts are, whether it's design, copywriting, doing coaching of some sort, whether it's mindset, holistic, fitness, you really understand how your services can impact their lives for not just themselves, but those around them.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. But welcome back to the show. Um, can you tell myself and the listeners a little bit about who you are and why you think you are who you are?
My name is Shri, and I am a social media manager. And I did not want to call myself a social media manager for a really long time, except that all my friends were like, that's what you are doing. Even though I was helping people to get on video, even though I was producing their podcasts, live streaming shows, coaching them to be on camera, but I was also teaching them strategy. How can you create content that will help people want to work with you? Even though I was helping them write their scripts, it was all still strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've learned through this is that I'm hard headed and I take time to process things. I don't take for face value what is in front of me. And sometimes that can hurt me. And I would share with others that you don't want to process too much time on things, like take time, overanalyze, because you're just missing out on opportunities. I could have been managing more accounts if I just said I was a social media manager.
Right. I relate to that because a lot of people are like, Katie, you're a holistic health coach. And I'm like, why do I need that label? I mean, even though there's like 7 pillars of health, there's the sleep, the nutrition, the movement, whatever. They're like, you're a holistic. There's something about the label. I don't know if it's the same for you, but there's something about the label that makes me like, because I feel like we stand out in what we do, right? So, yeah, I relate to that for sure.
The the face that you made is exactly how I felt for a really long time because I did not want to be put in this box. I wanted to be
Hmm.
able to say I do X, Y, Z, but you learn later that you can't do that. People have to know you for one thing, and they
Hmm.
only will come to you for that one thing. So even though my social media management agency does a lot of services, we're only known for one service, which is social media management for doctors and lawyers. But once you start working with us, then you realize, oh, these people do a lot more. Like I have an auditor on the team. I have a sales coach, a branding coach. I have a video editor. Then you have
Hmm.
me, who's also a videographer. So there's like a lot, but you just wouldn't know until you start talking to us.
Yeah. So what changed for you in the accepting of the label?
It was just make it easy. I want to make money. Like,
Bottom
I'm,
line, right?
I want to make money, and I want it to be that this is what I'm known for. I was listening to Chris Do, and he said the reason why people don't see the results and the success that they are looking for is because they don't want to admit that they need to do this one thing, whatever that one thing is. So if
Hmm.
it is, just call yourself a social media manager. Sometimes when I'm coaching clients, they don't want to get on camera because they overanalyze. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. But the more that you get on camera, the less you see that and you focus on
Hmm.
other elements. Plus, most of us, when in the beginning, are very forgiving to people. Our greatest and biggest supporters will be the ones encouraging us to post more content. Even though
Hmm.
it sucks, they are still kind to us because they want to see us succeed.
Yeah. One of my clients was somebody who was terrified of getting on camera, and yet she wanted to make content. And I think what's true for her is true for a lot of people in that no one's actually afraid to get on camera. No one's actually afraid to hit record. They're afraid of the feedback that they'll get once it's live. And so the fear is coming from this step that's way over here, right? But you missed the step of turning on the camera and recording before anyone's even watching. You missed the step of editing the video afterwards, and you missed the step of posting the video, right? So, like, all these steps are in between, and you're afraid of the last thing that could happen that you don't even know will happen. Well, we know social media is a bitch. And comment sections are fun, but I mean, yeah, my point was most of the people aren't actually afraid of what they think they're afraid of. So, do you find that to be true with your clients?
I will even take it a step more. Whatever we're going through in life, especially if we're going through a hard time,
Hmm.
we bring it into the things that we don't want to do, but we have to do. That's that one thing that I was talking about. So going back to that fear, yeah, you're worried about some fear, but then you are projecting whatever that you're going through in your life into the action. I'll give you an example. I have someone in my group that is going through things in life. We're all going through things in life,
Yeah.
except that she is putting into that video, well, I sound like I'm fake. I sound that I'm dry. I sound like this. It doesn't matter what I think. It all that matters is that the person that you are speaking to understands that they're speaking to them and they'll be like, okay. And the other thing too is everybody says, well, I need data. I need examples. Your videos, your content are great examples and samples to study from. You can see, like, oh, I can change this. Oh, this comment came, or this text message came, or this DM came. That's the only way you'll know because you can't continue to study everybody else's content. You have to do your own.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to do the things so that you know where the tweaks, I don't want to
Hmm.
use the word should happen, but could happen. Um, and you also get better at it. One of the biggest, like, coolest pieces of advice I got from my coach was uh, uh, create in the dark. So, what he meant by that was just like, if you're terrified to turn on the camera and talk to the camera as if nobody's ever going to see it. Because different things will come out of you if you don't think other people are going to see it. And it tends to be a little more, not more authentic, but because you don't think anyone's going to see it, you don't hold back as much. So that was a really good piece of advice I got.
That's a good one. I've
Hmm.
always said, imagine when I have to, I'll pull out. Imagine you're FaceTiming your friends, and some of your friends and really good friends have seen you really looking crusty dusty, like eye boogers, snot running down your nose because you're
Mhm.
crying, the worst of the worst. Yet they still show up for you. So you've used video in some way. You're feeling like, oh my God, this has to be part of social media and it lasts forever. You can
Mhm.
share what you want. You don't have to share everything. I was assaulted by a homeless woman in August of last year, walking to pick up Starbucks. I wasn't ready. I was still processing. And then 30 days later, my father passed. And I still wasn't showing up too much on camera because it was just all of this was happening. And the first time I showed up on camera was when I did my live show where I was interviewing people. And the only reason why I did it was because one, I had made an obligation to my guests.
Mhm.
Two, I said, this is the easiest thing I can do. It's content and I don't have to do much. I mean, let's just be real. Producing a podcast is a lot of work, but for someone who's it's second nature, like driving a car, I was able to just put aside my feelings and just show up. And also, I have shown the world in a live show, live streaming show, crying, me at my
Mhm.
lowest. And that first interview was the hardest. I made so many mistakes in the first month, let alone it was hard. I messed up people's names, I forgot their names, but I still went through it. I still kept pushing. And I'm not saying that I'm completely over the loss of my father, but I will say I have pushed past from where I was. And I tell anybody, like, you take your time, process things, share what you want, but your story is going to inspire others. When I finally shared that 2024 taught me that being assaulted and losing my father were blessings, I had people reaching out to me out of the woodworks that I have not
Mhm.
spoken to, and just shows the power of community, shows the power that your message can resonate with others. The comments that I got from that post. So imagine that you're just sharing your story. You're just telling people, like, I hit rock bottom, but I decided to create this business to be able to help others. You'll be surprised how many people will reach out just for that story and want to work with you because they feel like they can work. They feel like you understand their story. They feel like you know what it takes to get through that really hard time
Mhm.
and figure out a way to make things work.
Yeah. What the overall like theme of what I'm hearing you say is that you showed up with your vulnerability. And I think that that's what people want versus the polished, scripted, everything's perfect, you know, kind of portrayal that we try to do sometimes. And so I
Mhm.
think that's really cool. Yeah.
And I'm all for scripts. Like if you forget what you're gonna say,
Right.
like have your script. But
Yeah.
I saw and that I work with lawyers and doctors and I review people's content. And this particular lawyer was asked, why did you become a defense attorney? Now here I'm like, ooh, he's about to share the details. Like he went through some struggles and I was very deflated and upset because I just am doing this because I want to make sure that I am there. This is a hard time for you. And it just lost itself in translation. And because I review content, I watched the video to its entirety, but it still was to me, it would have been nice to hear because I didn't this is an actual story of a lawyer who went through law school. While he was going through law school, he was working at Waffle House and he had a kid and he had to pay child support because it didn't work out with the baby mama and him. He ended up living in his car and he was working at Waffle House and he was applying to take the bar and he failed it 5 times until
Mm.
he finally passed it. That is the reason why people are going to want to work with this particular lawyer. because it shows like regardless the world is crashing, they're still staying on target in their bubble. Like we're gonna do this, we're gonna make this happen. Things aren't gonna go smoothly. We're gonna get through this.
Well, with all of that said, I'm curious, what's your story?
Well, my story, well, no, um, in 2019, I realized I was working a 9 to 5. At this point, it had been like 6 months after my ex-husband had passed, the father of my child. And I realized, you know what? I can't leave a legacy to my daughter. There's no, because he didn't leave anything for her. And I said, I need to leave something behind if something happens to me. So I started a business. Fast forward to 2020 when you don't have a chance to go outside. You can't talk to anybody unless it's through social media or you have a way to make appointments and talk to people. And that is when I started seeing the Gary Vee and the Ed Milet and the Lewis Howes going live on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook. And I realized, hey, video is the way. Live streaming is the way. I need to be doing this. And I can also tag into this deeper calling of interviewing entrepreneurs. And I reached out to my friend who what I saw go live on Instagram and I said, "Okay, how do you do this?" And I started interviewing entrepreneurs. On my 100th interview, I said, "You know what? We're going to take this and go a different direction, and I'm going to help people get confident on camera." 6 months later, I was laid off from my job
Mm.
9 days before Christmas. And I said, okay, this is the closed door I needed. And I just went into entrepreneurship from 2022. We are now into 2025 and it has evolved. I went from coaching people to get on camera to producing live streaming shows, podcasts, to managing social medias, to now only focusing on medical doctors and lawyers. And did I always know what I was doing? No. Did I always have an idea of who is my niche, who is my target market? No. But I will share that the more conversations you have with people, the more you understand who you want to help, why you want to help them, and how what your efforts are, whether it's design, copywriting, doing coaching of some sort, whether it's mindset, holistic, fitness, you really understand how your services can impact their lives for not just themselves, but those around them.
Mm. I love that. I want to add to like with the last thing that you said, going back to being afraid to go on camera. How many people are you not helping because you can't get over your fear of turning on the camera? That was a purposeful silence. But yeah,
And
when
you
you,
use that same question to say how many people are you not helping by not sharing your story.
yeah, another purposeful silence. Yeah, I used to be terrified of the camera. And then I started doing podcasts, and now it's like second nature. Not that my story's like better than anyone else's, but I've been there. Like I get it. Um,
I don't think anybody's story is better than anybody else's. I think
no.
all of our stories are very fruitful,
Mhm.
and whoever you are speaking to, that's what they need to hear. They need to understand that not everybody is where you believe they are. They are where
Mhm.
they are. Like I was Mel Robbins, her new book, she did a reading and she talks about you have to understand people are where they are. They're busy in their lives. They have their own experiences, their own happenings of things that have led them to where they are today. And you have to understand where they are is where they are. So if you're a coach, a social media manager, we can only help you go from point A, which may be at the very low, low bottom and bring you midway because that's just where you need to be. And
Mhm.
that shift can do wonders for you. 3 months ago, I was really, really low because I lost my dad. But I also had I'm also not putting into this equation. I was assaulted. And at that time, I really felt alone. I really felt like nobody was there. The moment that my dad was rushed to the hospital, I actually realized I'm in a better place. Like my state of mind, I was really calm.
Mm.
I was like, okay, this is where we are. I'm going to spend every moment of all the days that he is here with us and just be there. And I think about that right now and I'm like, had this happened 30 days before, it would have been really hard for me. But going back to, you just have to realize where are people and meet them where they are and then help elevate them.
Mm. Just out of curiosity, going back to your entrepreneurial journal journey, how what inspired you to start working with doctors and lawyers?
I was in a car accident and I was getting really, really frustrated with my lawyer. And I couldn't get in touch with them. I couldn't get answers from their social media. And one of the doctors that I had to go visit is my current client. And I can't believe we're hitting 3 years
Mm.
working together. I walked in, the first question they asked is, do you have anxiety? I said, yes. So the doctor and I started talking. Why do you have anxiety? I have anxiety because I'm an entrepreneur. You just never know what's going to happen. Even if I have clients that are working with me month after month, they could up and leave one day. That's their choice. And then he understood and he said, well, what do you do? And I told him what I did, which was manage social media accounts, help people get on camera. He said, well, we need that. We sat down with him. We talked to him. We told him, look, we're not going to help you go viral. That's just not what we do. If your content happens to go viral, that's great. But we want to build content that allows people to understand who you are, why you're the top choice in the area, and who is your staff. So it's not a surprise when I walk in. That's exactly what he signed up for. And we're hitting 3 years this March. And knock on wood, throughout this time, it went from not much trust to a lot of trust. It
Hmm.
went from managing a few things for them to managing more.
Hmm.
At the same time, there's more collaboration between him and I on certain things, but it didn't happen like that. It was overnight. And going back to your question, I really enjoyed doctors, but I forget. I also have family members who are doctors. Like most of my family are doctors. So for me to be at the hospital, for me to hear the stories, to hear their struggles, this all not new to me. And when this particular clinic decided to work with us, it felt like we are like nothing changed. And
Mm.
the only thing that changed was understanding my processes, my systems, and making sure my team members have what they need so we can get the content out in a timely manner.
Mm. And so then the lawyer piece was just like, so because you couldn't get a hold of your lawyer, and so therefore you wanted to help lawyers be like, look, here I am. Is that
That's right.
right?
We don't, I've worked with a few lawyers, like a just one-on-one sessions, but it's more about they want to be a choice. There's so many options, especially like when you get into Houston. In a 2 mile radius, there's a bunch of personal injury attorneys. Why should I pick one over the other? And the only one thing that you can do is go with top of mind. It's the example of what laundry detergent do you choose?
Hmm.
There's Tide, there's Gain, there's so many others. But why do we choose one over the other? It's because of what we know and what we like.
Hmm. I almost answered your question. I'm like, I like Tide because I like how it smells.
But then if you were to put gain with Febreze and all the little elements that come with it, then you might like gain,
Hmm.
So it really comes down to the nitty-gritty of who do I want, what do I choose? And we have to love Google because our phones, they're spying on us. Next thing you know, I'm gonna get all these commercials with Tide and Gain.
Yeah. And ring lights. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Even
Yeah.
even and TikTok is here in 90 days. There'll be videos about all of this, all of what we
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah. So, what have been like some of the biggest struggles like within the business for you? Has it been like trying to figure out your systems? Has it been trying to figure out who your, I call it a seeker, but who your niche is? Well, that one kind of just fell into your lap, as you just said. But like, what have been like the biggest struggles of just I can say it, entrepreneurial life in general?
First is mindset. Mindset affects everything because you've got these thoughts that infect your mind. It could start off with as small as, I'm never going to get that big of a client when you start out. Then it becomes, I believe I will never get that because you let it fester. You
Hmm.
don't know. You have no idea. You have to just put in the work. And sometimes you don't get it, but you could just have one client that works with you and keeps adding on. And then you become someone that they love to work with. To give you an example, I approached a law firm. They asked me, so, who are your clients? I said, well, you're looking at one of them right now. And they asked, well, how long have you been working with them? We've been working with them coming on 3 years. Mouth dropped because that's not kind of the things that you hear.
Yeah.
So going back, mindset. The second one is understanding your processes, really understanding your systems, because what is working for you in the beginning isn't going to work when you have more clients. So you want to make sure you have a solid foundation of the tools that you want to use, and then how long can you use those tools? Is it going to be profitable for you? And what do you need to do? Because if you don't have your foundation set, it's going to be harder to try to add on more clients. It
Hmm.
gets too messy. And then the last one I would say is action. We talk about these goals we want to accomplish, but you have to understand your actions. What are your actions doing to help you get there? If you're not really posting on social media, are you going door to door? Are you going to in-person networking events? Are you getting on podcasts? Are you going live? What are you doing to get yourself in front of more audience? I was listening to another episode with Chris Doe, who was interviewing this one person who talks about the reason why someone gets chosen over another person is because they just are in people's faces. You could be the best in the industry, but if no one knows you exist, they won't work with you. They'll go work with the person that does subpar service,
Hmm.
and everybody hates them, but they give results that people can, they have something that they're proving while you're not showing it. So if you're like, well, I don't know if my results are good enough, that was me. It goes back to work on your mindset, change that mindset. You are good enough. If you've got people who keep wanting to keep working with you year after year after year, keep adding on services, obviously you're doing something right. And those are the three that I would say stand out.
That's awesome. I kind of don't want to ask my last question because I feel like you wrapped it up into three answers, if that makes sense. But I do have one more question for you. And that is if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
Have a routine. This could be your morning routine, your afternoon routine, your evening routine. People will say you got to start the day somehow. I say, for me personally, how I started doing a morning routine where I dive deep into my faith and I'm journaling. I didn't used to journal before my dad passed, but I find now that journaling has really, really been helpful for me. But if you find, you know what, I want to take a walk every day at this time, no AirPods, nothing, just allow myself to have time, do that because you have to allow yourself time to process what is working, what is not. Give yourself time to see the things that you're not seeing, hear the things that you're not hearing, and really put a perspective in what's going on in your world as of that day, as of that time period. Because we're just all like, oh, we got to get up at 5, you got to do that. No, I'm just like, just create the routine, figure out what it is, if it's in the morning, if it's in the evening, or if it's in the middle of the day. But give yourself that time. I've seen too many entrepreneurs. They say, I'm just getting burnt out. I just need some time. I need to have a break. Well, why don't you schedule some time? It can be 10 minutes, it can be an hour, whatever it is.
Beautiful beasts, Shri Mahabir signing off. Until next time.